Hello, hello. Happy New
Hey,
Year to everyone.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen. First Liberty Ladies Unite Monday live stream anyway of 2021. Welcome, everybody.
Welcome.
There we go. I'm Natalie.
Oh, okay.
We got out of the rhythm because it's
did.
Saturday. You first then.
Okay. I'm Rebecca.
I'm Natalie. We are your Liberty Ladies and we unite. There we go.
There we go. That's better. So let's see. I'm bringing it up on my other phone so I can see the chat.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I should do that too. Well, we can see the chat on here, although I can't like things.
Like I can see the messages on when I'm on here. I can see how many people are watching, but I can't see the messages.
So if you go to comments it should be on the right, and turn on comments, then you can see them.
Oh, okay. Well, I learned something new. How cool.
Yeah, I'll even say hi.
Okay.
Yay! Because we want to definitely be sure that we get everyone's comments where we can see them. There we go.
There we go.
Yay!
So, today is officially the 10th day of Christmas.
That's right.
Let's see what happens on the 10th day of Christmas. I'm trying to remember the song.
10th day. 9 lords a leaping, 10 ladies dancing.
10 ladies dancing.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Would it be like 10 ladies belly dancing, maybe?
Yeah, there we go. That works. 10 belly dancers. 10 bellies dance. Ooh, 10 bellies dancing. Have some fun with that one. There we go.
Hey, Diana and David and Edward. Yes, Trump did win by a landslide. Absolutely. So maybe I'll start talking about my trip to Ohio over Christmas.
Ooh, yeah, that's true. You had some fun at restaurants and the movie theaters, I understand.
I did. So I left the Iron Curtain of New Mexico. That's what I'm calling it, the Iron Curtain, because once you leave the border of New Mexico, everything changes. So I drove to Ohio, which involved going through Texas, Oklahoma, Illinois, Missouri, Indiana. Yeah, and then down into Ohio. That's the route I took. And all along the way, I stopped at restaurants. I stopped at a Texas Roadhouse in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. And it's in Oklahoma. Yeah. So it was kind of interesting, the experience I had there. The Texas Roadhouse was packed, and they were fully open. None of this 50% nonsense or social distancing.
Oh yeah, was this the one you mentioned last week?
Yes. Yes.
In Oklahoma, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, wish we could have been to that one. What I want to hear about is the Wonder Woman experience, because I know you got to see that in theater.
I did. So, but first the restaurant experience. And this kind of fits into our mask mania that we talk about. And we talked about it on the radio on Saturday, but we haven't talked about it here yet. So that's why I mentioned it.
No, we did, because you remember you called in while I had Dereck on. You told Dereck the story.
Did I? Oh, yep. Okay. Well, then we'll just skip that one then. But I haven't talked about the Wonder Woman thing.
Yeah, no, you have not.
Okay. All right. Good. Okay. Well, I'll talk about that then, because if everybody watched last week, they heard the Texas Roadhouse story.
Yes.
Anyway, so I went to a movie theater in Ohio and saw the new Wonder Woman movie.
Yay!
Yeah. And it was awesome. But one thing I can tell you is this mask mania brainwashing seems to have really taken hold all across the country. People are, in most places wearing masks all over the place. Now, the difference is when you leave New Mexico, you don't encounter the mask Nazis at the businesses trying to shove a mask on you. Okay, so I didn't have to deal with that. The movie theater, we were the only ones in there. And it's kind of sad because Wonder Woman just came out, and you would think that it would be packed because it's one of the hottest movies of the year. But no, we were the only ones in the theater. And the whole experience, going to the movie is like one of those things, kind of like when you go to a sporting event, used to be, where you go there for an escape from the reality of everything that's going on outside. Well, that's all been taken away because now you go into the movie theater and they got these stupid keep 6 feet apart thing going on. They got most of the concession stand closed down. They got everything routing through one line. And all of the employees are all masked up, and it's just a creepy scene and kind of takes away the escape element of the whole thing. But I went in, and of course, you know me, I did not wear a mask. The girl at the front counter asked us, "Oh, do you need a mask?" And I said, "Oh, no, thank you." And I just went right on. And my mom did also, and so did my stepdad, and yeah, we just went right on in. And I told my mom, I said, "Mom, you know that I will not wear a mask." She said, "Well, they might make you wear a mask at the movie theater." I said, "Mom, you know I will not wear a mask, period." I said, "So if they try to push this on me, I am going to give them a lecture and make a little bit of a scene, and then if they don't give in, I'm going to leave."
That's right.
I said, "So just keep that in mind." So anyway,
well, it's sad. The Wonder Woman grossed, they said, the highest box office opening of the pandemic. So they're not even trying to compare it to previous years.
No.
They just said it was a COVID-19 box office record. I'm like, 9 months? Are you serious?
Yeah.
But yeah, 16.7 million, I think. Let's see. Yeah. Supposedly it flopped in the China box office debut, but whatever. Yeah, but it was, I think, 38.5 or 0.6 million globally overseas. So it was, still nothing to sneeze at, but it's not anything like the hundreds of millions that movies used to take in on their opening weekend.
Well, yeah, and at $16 million, they probably have not even broken even yet.
No, not yet.
I imagine not. Yeah.
Because to make a movie like that is very expensive.
80 mil.
It cost $80 million to make it.
Yes.
So
what? Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah, they're gonna lose major money on that.
We are going to witness the death of big movies.
Well,
we're going to witness the death of movie theaters.
What they're starting to do is they're probably already starting. Disney's probably already, no, not Disney. Who owns the DC universe? It's not Disney. Well, movie theaters are, instead of releasing them in movie theaters, they're starting to release them on streaming services such as Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, and when it's opening weekend, you basically pay the premium, like movie-going theater price of $20 or $30. I'm like, oh, that's kind of expensive. But on the other hand, it's cheaper than taking an entire family where you're paying $20 a ticket. So there's that. But yeah, a lot of people are opting to see these movies at home instead of in theater, although theaters are still kind of hedging their bets, hoping, can we make it? Can we not? Because, what was it? Maverick got pushed back. The latest James Bond got pushed back.
I saw the previews for both of those.
Yeah, and what was another one that got pushed back? There was another big one. Was it No, it wasn't one of the Wolverine movies. There was a third one that also got pushed back, among others, I'm sure. So theaters are hoping, well, these are such big names. We stand to make so much in the box office. Can we just hold on another year? But as we know, or as we have been saying and reading the signs and telling everybody, if you think that just because it's a new year, that just because it looks like Biden won, and just because there's a vaccine rollout, that means everything gets to go back to normal.
No.
Yeah, it's a pipe dream.
Yeah.
That's a pipe dream. Because especially in New Mexico, and I have that thing that you sent me about COVID, basically being on permanent lockdown. Oh no, never say that.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can pull that up. Oh, wrong one. Let's see here. Well, that's a good one too, but that's Linwood. We'll get to Linwood eventually.
Oh yeah, a lot of stuff to talk about, Linwood. Hey, and also Secretary of State Mike Pompeo.
Oh,
did you hear what on his press conference he did?
No.
He was talking to some reporters, and reporters asked him. They said, being as we have the Biden-elect administration, is there going to be a smooth transition of power on January 20th? Mike Pompeo, okay, you're going to love this. Mike Pompeo came out and said, yes, I can tell you without a doubt, there is going to be a smooth transition to a second
term of Trump. Right. Yeah. That's basically what he said.
That's like, whoa.
Awesome. That was
yeah.
Awesome. I did see that. That was awesome. So yeah, there's this thing here, this COVID 1984 analysis. I really like that. Yeah, why New Mexico could face a permanent lockdown. And I was reading through it, and I really like it because it's some stuff that you and I have talked about before, some things that I think we've both sort of been aware of, but it puts it all in one place and ties it up in a really nice, neat little package, or big package, however you want to look at it. But yeah, could a lockdown last indefinitely? In New Mexico, it could. And one of the main reasons being because of 40 years ago, our legislature basically gave they passed a Public Health and Safety Act. And yeah, they meant well. They meant to, give enough power to the Public Health and Safety Department to look after the health and safety of the people. But what they ended up doing is essentially giving them carte blanche in perceived health and safety threat situations, such as we have now with the CCP virus. If anyone doesn't know what the CCP virus is, it's the Chinese Communist Party virus. Because other than that, we try not to say the C word.
No, we don't.
So here's the thing. The legislature didn't put any checks and balances on this Public Health and Safety Act. So they can't, basically, the Department of Health has the ability to issue licenses and enforce public health orders. There is no 30 or 60-day expiration for public health emergency orders. The legislature doesn't get to step in to either enforce those orders or strike them down. So per the public health order, basically New Mexicans are permanently left in the hands of the governor and her executive branch appointments to the Department of Health. Because that is the real key here, is the Department of Health is staffed by governor appointees. Hey, Robbie says he's in Ohio and there are way too many sheep here.
Oh, yeah, they're all over the place. They are.
They are all over the place, Robbie, but be very glad that you live still in a moderately free state. Otherwise, you're welcome to come to New Mexico if you want to experience the land of the communists.
Yeah, there may be a lot of sheeple in Ohio, but one thing I noticed, at least the businesses are not, they're not jamming the mask mandates down your throat.
Did you get to go to a Costco in Ohio, perchance?
Donna did.
What did she say? Are they enforcing the mask thing?
Yes, they are trying at Costco.
See
and
that
she went in and went shopping, and they didn't say anything to her when she went in the door. But as she was leaving, the masked Nazis came after her.
Yeah, see that's the concerning thing. And again, we've hinted
We
at
need
this
to stop
before.
doing businesses with these corporations like Costco.
Corporations, this is the hierarchy of power. They couldn't get things done at the presidential level. So then they tried legislature. Then they try, the Justice Department and through the various courts. Then they try the governors and then the mayors. And even in certain states, if they can't get the governors and mayors totally on board like they have in this state, then they're going to co-opt the corporations. So in other words, 1 or 2% of society is trying to impose its will on the rest of society, the rest of America, by fiat, meaning they're trying to strong arm, they're trying to pressure corporations to change their policies, and it's illegal. It is.
Well, and basically
illegal.
What's happening is the government through these state governors and things like that, especially the blue state governors, they are putting these oppressive mandates and basically squeezing these small businesses to the point of where these small businesses, they're caught between a rock and a hard place. It's like, well, you're saying that if I don't enforce these mandates, then you're going to come in and take my life
unfortunately,
and shut me down. But then if I enforce your mandates and I'm rude to my customers and I jam these mandates down their throat and become a mask Nazi and doing all this kind of stuff, I'm going to ruin my business on my own. And I watched I watched a YouTube video a guy posted on there, and you might have seen that. I forwarded it to you on Messenger, where the guy used some rather colorful language, which I thought was really funny. He owns a couple of restaurants, and he says he's open fully, and they can fine him all they want, but he's not going to close and he's not going to pay the fines. And basically saying, you can give me all the fines you want, and I'll stack these papers up. And he said, I'll either burn them to keep my family warm in the fireplace, he said, or I'll wipe my butt with them.
Oh.
And he said, if you guys think I'm going to comply with this stuff, then you can just, I can pretty much say kind of a curse word on here. I can get away with it on here. He said, you can just eat a dick. And he said, the rest of you, if you want to come after me, he said that later. He said, the rest of you want to come after me? He says, I got a whole bag of dicks for you. And it's like, I've never heard that term used, but it was hilarious. And it's like, he says, I am a effing an American, and he says, I am not going to comply with this stuff. Here's the thing, and this is the point I'm going to make, and I'm going to make this point, and I'm going to really come down on the Restaurant Association of New Mexico on our Saturday show. This is one of the things I'm going to talk about. Carol Wright, which is the head of the New Mexico Restaurant Association, for months she's been like, oh, well, we're just going to see if we can work with the governor and all this other BS. It's like, lady, have you not discovered that the governor does not want to work with you? She wants to kill all the businesses in New Mexico. She wants to kill all the restaurants. And unless you man up and grow a set and tell all the restaurants in New Mexico, and I was talking to one of the managers at the Ribs restaurant here in the East Mountains that I'm good friends with. I love all those people there, and I asked her, I said, if Carol Wright was to come out and say to all the restaurants in New Mexico, I want you to just open up fully now, would you guys go along with that? She said, yes, we would.
Wow.
So if Carol Wright cannot stand up to this and she can't handle the fight, she needs to resign and let somebody else come in there that's got some guts.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah, well, as you can see here, and here's one of the main reasons why the governor doesn't want to work with anyone. She doesn't have to work with anyone, especially with that Public Health and Safety Act from 40 years ago, and then the New Mexico Supreme Court ruling in favor of the Department of Health and governor. These measures could be enacted indefinitely. And see, that's the thing is she's been very canny, very wily about this. Most of her health orders have been issued through the Department of Health in New Mexico. So then the person who actually it falls on to enforce them is the head of the head of Department of Public Health. And guess whose name is technically on most of the orders that that get officially released is whoever the Secretary of Health is at this time. So the governor has no incentive to work with anyone because she's got all these proxies that she's utilizing. I mean, yeah, she has her initial governor's executive orders, but ultimately the public health order gets put out and disseminated via the New Mexico Department of Health. Now, recently, some legislatures, there's been some rumbling that they've decided the governor might need some restraints, maybe. Even Democrats have kind of been like, yeah, something kind of needs to be done. But for anything they pass, if the legislatures were have enough backbone to pass anything, it still would be subject, that says so here, it would be subject to the governor's veto and line item veto. In other words, that chance. So.
Well, and that further reinforces what I was saying, that the governor is going to use this as a justification for continuing to do what she's doing indefinitely. Ultimately, what people need to remember, though, is that we, the people, are in charge in this country. We don't have dictators. And the only power that these people have are the power that we give to them. So if we all choose to take that power away from them, there isn't a damn thing they can do about it. Especially if every restaurant in this state opens up and says, screw you. There isn't anything she can do. Nothing. And I'll tell you what, the sheriffs around the state are not going to do anything about it either. They're not going to enforce it. They're going to say, whatever,
Even Manny Gonzalez, I mean, I'm tempted to do most of my shopping now in Bernalillo County, basically outside of Albuquerque city limits, because BCSO is not going to do diddly squat. Hopefully, we'll see. So I do want to get into a little bit of that act and exactly how it affects us. And I'm even wondering why 40 years ago, more people didn't put up a fuss over this and realize it was the Trojan horse, or realize it for the Trojan horse it was. So B, supervise health hygiene of the people of the state. C, investigate, control, and abate the causes of disease, especially epidemics, sources of mortality, and other conditions of public health. There's a lot more to this, but that one section, Section C of this act, whoa.
Yeah.
It gives the public health department an enormous amount of power. But right there, not just investigate. Okay, investigate's one thing. I could even get on board with abate, but control?
Yeah, but Natalie, they are not a law enforcement agency. They can't. They don't have arrest power or anything like that. They would have to bring a sheriff or something with them.
But they have.
Guess what? The sheriffs aren't going to enforce it.
Well, here's the thing. So here's what I got to be sort of have an inside look on earlier this year when I worked with a group of people that were trying to sort out all the anonymous emails and tips that were FOIA'd from the Department of Health. So this is just going back to April. I got to see all the emails, not just the anonymous tips. I got to see all of the emails for like a 1 or 2 week period. And there were emails going back and forth between the Secretary of Health staff and the state police. So the state police have basically been put at the disposal of the Department of Public Health. That is how they have been enforcing this. And that's how they've been enforcing these draconian orders, is that the governor, because she appoints the Department of Public Health and she appoints essentially the head of the state police. She has both those departments working in concert together. So it's true, the Department of Public Health doesn't have the authority to arrest anyone, but the way that they've been getting this done is by using the state police. Now, the next one is even scarier. So you thought controlling the cause of
the state
disease.
police have basically been acting like the private foot soldiers of our governor.
Yeah. And not that they're bad people. And I actually know someone whose son is one of the state police, and thankfully he works out in rural areas and doesn't bother with masks or anything like that. But then there are some that are closer to power and closer to Santa Fe and that are being sent out specifically to enforce these orders. So again, if you thought that controlling disease, sources of mortality, and other conditions of public health, and that one actually, other conditions of public health, whenever in legal documents or in laws you see these kind of loophole phrases, I like to call them, because they're really kind of general. They leave a lot of wiggle room. Run for the hills. Those are the scariest things right there because they're so open to interpretation.
Oh yeah, other is pretty much means anything you want.
Yeah, so other conditions.
Yeah. And the next one is really scary.
Yeah,
it's
D.
like establish, maintain, and enforce isolation and quarantine.
Yep.
Okay, so they can drag you out of your home and lock you up, is basically what that's saying. And I've seen that done in Australia. I've seen videos on that people have posted in Australia where they're dragging people out of their homes.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It is super, super scary. But yeah,
and
that
the thing is about like Australia, guess what? People in Australia don't have a right to that we have a right to in this country.
Freedom of speech, baby.
Not only that, Second Amendment.
Right to bear arms.
They already took away their guns years ago.
Yep.
Okay, and it's like in Nazi Germany, that's one of the things they did before they instituted communism, is they took away the guns.
Well, they tried taking away the guns in Australia, but here's an interesting tidbit. There are now more guns in the country of Australia than ever before. And that's sort of worrisome, but at the same time, it's also cool. It's like, so are citizens finding ways to get guns on the black market, or because they know that citizens aren't armed, is the criminal element indiscriminately arming itself?
Mark was just saying that Australians are bringing in guns from New Guinea.
Well, they kind of have to, because I've heard that the criminal element there is getting outrageous, and also knife stabbings have been going up in Australia too. What?
Well, and I've even heard in some of these countries where they've outlawed guns, the weapon of choice is a screwdriver.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do some damage with a screwdriver.
I've heard of someone getting killed by a spoon to the eyeball. So, all of it.
Hey, like they teach you in martial arts, you are the weapon. The thing that you carry around that you're doing damage with is simply a tool.
Yes.
And so almost anything can be used as a tool.
My pinky could, If I jam my thumb into your aorta, what the heck do you think's going to happen?
Yeah.
So E, this one is one we're all familiar with. Close any public place and forbid gatherings of people when necessary for the protection of the public health. Sound familiar? Yeah. It's almost as if Lujan Grisham went down this whole Public Health Act and just went, ooh, I want that, and I want that, and I'll take some of that, and I'll have a double dose of that.
That's right. And a little bit of that on top.
Right. and this one also scares me too. It should scare you. Prescribe the duties of public health nurses and school nurses. Really? Really? The public health department can specifically prescribe the duties of the nurses?
That kind of sounds like in a communist country where they decide what job you're going to do, regardless of what you want to do.
Now, this one here, we know they've done already. J, bring action in court for the enforcement of health laws and regulations and orders issued by the department. Well, actually, they haven't done this one so much. The New Mexico Supreme Court ruling was an answer to, I believe it was the Restaurant Association's lawsuit. But this is also concerning because it means that the public health department can actually weaponize the courts against the people and the businesses, which is probably what they're planning on doing. Now, the only thing with this, though, is it says they can bring action in court. It doesn't mean that it doesn't say that a judge has to honor it. A judge could still technically throw it out of court. And I think that's one reason why they haven't done this one as much.
Yeah.
Because this now depends on a whole bunch of district judges, and each judge is different. And even if they're Democrat judges, that doesn't guarantee that they're going to see it the state's way, because judges, and it's kind of a good thing, are very jealous of their plenary power. Plenary, P-L-E-N-A-R-Y, meaning unique to oneself or one's office. So the Justice Department has the specific, unique department and the ability to interpret the law. And they really don't like it when governors and other departments try to interpret the law for them. So I think that's one reason why this one hasn't been done as much. This one, K, I thought was interesting, maybe foreboding. Enter into agreements with other states to carry out the powers and duties of the department. I wonder if maybe that has anything to do with why we're flying people in from Baja California and parts of Arizona. Let's see. Cooperate and enter into contracts or agreements with the federal government or any other person. There it is. Any other person. That's the scary part. Enter into contracts with any other person to carry out the powers and duties of the department. In other words, your taxpayer dollars can be going to any other person that they deem necessary to carry out the powers and duties of the department, if that's in the contract, if there's a contractual basis for it. Let's see. Maintain and enforce regulations. I mean, need I say more? For the control of communicable diseases deemed, not proven, deemed to be dangerous to public health.
Yeah, and who deems it? Who does the deeming?
Deemed. Yes.
Yeah. Who is it that does the deeming?
Right.
That's often a question with these things that they do. They say, well, you know, we're gonna say that this thing is bad and this thing is, but they don't say, well, who's going to make that determination?
Right. And the next one's really worrisome. Maintain and enforce regulations for immunization. Again, against diseases deemed to be dangerous to the public health.
Once again, who's going to be doing the deeming?
Yeah, Bill Gates?
Yeah.
Well, why are we even listening to Bill Gates? Remember when the news end of last year asked him, so how long do you think the lockdowns will persist? Why are you asking Bill Gates? He's not a doctor. Come on. Come on. Yes, okay, fine. He's put lots of money into researching vaccines. He's not a doctor. Stop it. He's not even an No, here's what's important. Bill Gates is not an elected official. He doesn't get a say. I didn't vote for him. Nobody did.
Just like Slouchy and Burka, they're not elected officials either, and yet people are saying, well, we need to do what they say. It's like, why? Who the hell are they? Who has even heard of those two people until all this nonsense?
Yes. The next one here, another one that has some loophole in it. Maintain and enforce such rules and regulations as may be necessary to carry out the provisions of the Public Health Act and to publish same. So this one is kind of like maintain and enforce regulations for control of communicable disease, but this is specifically enforce extra or other rules and regulations as they may see necessary to carry out provisions of the Public Health Act.
So we're basically saying that they can create any kind of law, well, a mandate, which they're going to enforce like a law, is basically what it's saying. So basically, we're going to bypass the entire legislature. We're going to bypass the entire process by which something gets taken and it gets discussed and it gets debated and it gets voted on and then it gets signed into law. No, we're just going to, whoever it is, whoever it may be deemed in charge, is just going to make these determinations and say, you will do this. We, the people, is just completely out of the loop.
Yeah, and this whole thing, when I read through it, I could not believe how badly it was written. And by badly, I mean how many generalities there are in it and how obfuscated some of the wording is. It's not clear, and good law needs to be clear. There needs to be clarity. So this next one's P. Supervise state public health activities, operate a dental public health program, and operate state laboratories for the investigation of public health matters. Whoa! So the public health department is given all this power basically in all areas of health, and they even included dental.
Right.
This is supposed to be an emergency act. What the heck are they doing putting a dental public
a dental emergency
program?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Yes. Well, this one here next is interesting. So Q, sue, meaning they can sue through the courts, and with the consent of the legislature, be sued. Did you know, per this, you can't sue the New Mexico Public Health Department unless the legislature gives permission.
Right.
They can sue us. They can sue whatever business they want to. But we can't sue them.
No, because the legislature can come out and say, no, we don't want to be sued. Go away.
Yeah. So this, oh my gosh.
Yeah, this whole thing is, wow.
This whole thing, that no wonder Luan Grisham latched onto this. Yeah, I'll bet you whoever brought this to her attention, whether it was before she was governor or after, she made sure that they were well taken care of, because this is just communist gold right here. Communist gold.
It is.
So, now, another one that's scary, as if all of this wasn't scary enough. Inspect such premises or vehicles as necessary to ascertain the existence of or non-existence of conditions dangerous to public health or safety.
Okay, so you know what that means? That means that they can come into your house without a warrant.
Yes.
Warrantless searches and seizures. They can basically force their way into your home. They can force their way into your car. They can force their way in anywhere they want. And because then the other thing that they can force their way into your house, and they can drag you out of your house. That's what all of this says.
Yeah. Such premises or vehicles as necessary. Again, there's that wording. But here's the important part. To ascertain the existence or non-existence of conditions dangerous to public health or safety. In other words, they don't even have to have probable cause. They don't even have to have a reason to believe that your restaurant has dangerous conditions. They just have to say, well, we need to make sure that dangerous conditions don't exist. This is why probable cause exists, because if probable cause does not exist, where someone has to petition a judge for a warrant and say, well, we have enough reason to believe that so-and-so is illegally operating a still in their basement, what have you. No, now they can say, well, we don't have any reason to believe that so-and-so doesn't have a still in their basement. No one's proven that they don't, so we need to go ahead and check. This is guilty until proven innocent.
Doesn't that sound
Yes,
familiar? Doesn't that
it
sound
is.
familiar? Like
Yes,
what they put Trump through for the past
yes.
4
It
years.
is
It's
not
like, well, we
innocent
know
until
you did something, and we're
Yep.
going to prove that you did something.
So it is not innocent until proven guilty. It is guilty until proven innocent. That is what this wording says. Good God, where were people 40 years ago when this passed? Where the heck were
Asleep
they?
with their head in the sand, their heads up their butts. I don't know. And if that's not bad enough, this last one basically says whatever this stuff says we can't screw you over and do to you, well, we can do all the other things too.
Do all other things necessary to carry out its duties. Now, granted, some orders and provisions have a clause like this at the end because, and lawyers will often say, sometimes put it this way, at the very end of something, this is not to, all things are included as mentioned above, but not to exclude anything else that might be pertinent pursuant to fulfilling such office or orders as necessary. That's, that usually is something reasonable. However, the way that they worded this, do all other things necessary to carry out its duties. Not do all such things as reasonable pursuant to carrying out their duties. No, do all other things. Whoever even wrote this, I'm like, you weren't even a lawyer. Or you were a lawyer who knew that by wording things so obliquely, you could get away with a bunch of shit.
Well, and why wasn't somebody in the legislature hopping mad and just screaming at the top of their lungs about this when this went through? Why was there no discussion about it at all? I never even heard of this until I just found this over the past couple of days.
Yes. Now, here's something I don't necessarily agree with, although I see why they say it. They say the governor has the ability through this law to go even further than she has gone lawfully. Now, that depends on your interpretation of lawfully. So far as this act was passed by our legislature and signed by whoever was governor at the time, was it King? Might have been King. No, before that, I think. But it was duly passed. It's bad, but it was duly passed. It is part of our codified statutes in New Mexico. However, it is, I believe, in violation of our Constitution, our state Constitution.
It's in serious violation of your civil liberty.
Yeah, so
I don't care if it was passed or not. I'm not going to abide by it.
Yeah, it technically gives the Public Health Service of New Mexico, or the Public Health Department, the so-called ability or sanction to dismiss civil liberties and constitutional rights of individuals and even of individually owned businesses. Again, that goes against our Constitution, both at a state and at a federal level. Now, what I find interesting here is it says, at least it'll be done lawfully until Governor Grisham violates federal law in the form of interstate commerce or something, sparking federal court intervention. If you've noticed, she's been very, very careful not to shut down interstates, even though she's basically, given the okay to barricade our, Native American Indians on their reservations and shut down other forms of egress. But she has not shut down the interstate. Even when she shut down Gallup, she didn't shut down the interstate.
No, she shut off the ramps going into Gallup.
Yes, but she could not shut down the interstate because of interstate commerce and because technically it's the federal government who owns the interstates, not the states themselves. So this article also recommends the concerned citizens reach out to their legislatures and demand action. And yes, we're going to be rallying soon in Santa Fe this week. In fact, some people are already up there tonight. Do we have any updates on that?
Haven't heard anything so far.
Was Steven going to be up there? Or Garrett? I always forget his last name.
Stephen Garrett?
Yeah.
I am not sure. I haven't seen anything popping up on Facebook. Normally people are posting things, and I haven't seen anything.
Well, Facebook has really, really been cracking down on all of this. In fact, you and I were recently a part of a group called Biden's Not My President-Elect.
Yeah.
And a few days ago, that group got deleted by Facebook.
Nice.
And in fact, the reason I found out is someone who I had invited asked me, they said, look, I never accepted your invitation, but I want to, but now I can't find it. So then I looked, and thankfully someone else had invited me to the new group, which is Biden is still not my president and Trump is still your president. So there's a new group now, which I've invited a bunch of people to. I think you're a part of it as well. But yeah, Facebook is really cracking down on these things. I'm having a hard time getting notifications from groups. I have to literally go to a group and scroll down. Keep in mind, people, that if you want to make sure that the word gets out on something, you need to share it, not just to your wall, but share and tag people on it that you want to make sure see it. Because so far, Facebook hasn't been able to stop that. I tag a bunch of people on all of my posts, or most of my posts, to make sure that the word gets out to the people that I specifically want to see this article or this notification. But Facebook's really been throttling back on those. So yeah, I probably have to go to, what is he under? I will not comply.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Because yeah, I will not comply is his page, New Mexico. Let's see if there's anything here from him. Because yeah, we need to rally at the Roundhouse. Rebecca and I are going to be there on Wednesday the 6th. We're going to be going up in the car rally.
Right.
Let's see if we can get 2 or 3 miles out of that car rally, people. Let's have a string all.
Oh, I'd like to get 10 miles.
Yes. So let's see. Last time he was live was December 24th. So I don't see anything from him right now. And I don't have anything, well, other than some people trying to argue with me on, data this and data that. I'm like, oh, okay, read the article before you decide to argue with me. Oh, but data can be manipulated. Well, read the article first, idiot. Yeah. That's what I think about that. Yeah. It's like, don't try to argue data points with me if you haven't read the damn article and you don't know what the hell the data is. So, yeah, let me tell you how I really feel about that one. Yeah, if you're going to argue with me, I love arguing. I do too. I love debating, etc. But good Lord, bring your facts. Don't just try to dismiss something out of hand. If you try to do that, you're an idiot and you lost the argument because you never had an argument in the first place.
Yeah.
So David Russell says, the little tyrant knows what she's doing. She was the health secretary under Bill Richardson. She knows that law. Very good point, David. Very good point. Yeah. Well, she was health secretary under Bill Richardson. He basically had to fire her and she had to tender her resignation because, her mismanagement and misfeasance, meaning she knew something was going on and she did not take adequate steps to rectify it, got people killed. Old people in some of the homes, particularly one of the homes that actually the cases went to all the way to the DOJ, died horrible deaths under her. And her excuse was, well, when I inherited this department, there were so many things wrong with it. And the DOJ was like, you've been Secretary of Health for 12 years. WTF?
Yeah.
She's like, okay, fine, I'll resign. But I'm not happy about it because I inherited those problems. 12 years wasn't enough.
And yet she got elected governor. Amazing.
Right. Right. Well, she ain't getting a cabinet position anytime soon. Let me tell you that.
No.
She might still. Hope springs eternal for her.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, this article. I mean, this is gold. Thanks so much for sending it to me. I'm
Yeah,
going
we'll probably
to
have to talk about this one on Saturday.
absolutely. I started reading down this list, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, whoever drafted this, PO'd. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. This is a gift to the Marxists in New Mexico. I would not doubt that Marxists were behind um, drafting and pushing this and pushing for this to pass in our legislature 40 years ago.
Yeah.
So, and one of these days, I've got the podcast saved. I want to contact this guy Stephen, who once called in a few months ago to Eddie Aragon and talked in depth about how Marxism came to New Mexico, picked New Mexico, and basically set down roots here. It wasn't an accident. It was with a purpose. We were chosen the armpit to be the armpit and testing ground of Marxism in the United States. So yeah, there's that. But yeah, we
So
definitely need to talk about that on Saturday.
we definitely need to, because it totally fits into the kind of stuff we've been talking about.
Absolutely.
Well, I had a experience here in the East Mountains a couple of days ago at what used to be my favorite hardware store. It's a small hardware store. It used to be privately owned. It used to be called Davis Hardware. It got bought. Apparently, I think the owner, Davis, whoever he is or he was, probably retired or something, and they sold the store to True Value. So it's a corporate store.
Oh wow.
And once again, we were talking about corporations.
That's right.
So now this store that I have been shopping at, because it's my local hardware store, and have been patronizing them for over 15 years now, is trying to force me to wear a mask. Now, I went in there 2 days ago, and they got a mask Nazi working in there. It seems like there's one everywhere.
Yeah.
And the rest of them in there pretty much don't say anything to you. But the mask Nazi, he's taken it upon himself to get on his little power trip and tell you. I was looking for a water shutoff valve for something I was fixing, and I had grabbed something off the shelf, and I wasn't 100% sure that it would work for what I was replacing. So he's standing up there on a ladder doing something. I come up to him and says, "Will this work for this?" And he looks at me. He doesn't answer my question. "You have to wear a mask."
Oh.
And I said,
God.
"No, I do not." And then he calls the manager. Well, the manager, and we had this discussion a while back. The manager says, "Do you have one of those cards that says that you don't have to wear a mask?" And I said, "I do." I says, "But it's unconstitutional and it's a violation of my civil liberties for you to require that I have some kind of a medical card to shop in your store."
Right.
I said, "This is communism."
Yeah.
And I said, "You're violating my personal rights by saying I have to wear a mask, and your employer is violating your personal rights by telling you have to wear one.
Yes.
And they're violating your personal rights by telling you that you have to tell me. They're making you break the law."
They are forcing businesses to become law enforcement. And I've been hearing more people starting to speak up about this, and I'm so glad, because this is something you and I especially have been concerned about from the beginning. Peggy Hall has remarked on it with other civil rights lawyers and attorneys as well, is they are forcing businesses to become law enforcement. I'm sorry, that was not their business description. It's not in an employee's job description. If they're supposed to stock shelves and sweep floors, their job mask mandate enforcement is nowhere in their job description. And by law, the state cannot force a business to force their employees to act like law enforcement. In fact, we have laws against acting like law enforcement.
So you know how we end this? This goes kind of like what I was talking about earlier, what the restaurants need to do. The restaurants all need to open fully. Carol Wright needs to have the guts to tell them to do it. Okay, that's what a leader does. A leader is somebody that takes responsibility and says, do this, I'll take the hit for it. Do it. You know, that's what I would do if I was in charge of the restaurant association. Maybe they should put me in charge, because I'm telling you, I would end this tomorrow. It would be over.
Yeah.
And I'd say, you can sue me if you want to, but I'm not going to pay.
And
you know, but anyway, so what this hardware store has done is they're basically destroying their own business, and they're taking me, a good loyal customer, and she even made the statement, well, I can refuse service for any reason. I said, you're going to refuse service to me? As me being a loyal customer for all these years, and you're going to treat me like this? And I said, if I come in here again and I am harassed like this, you will never see me again.
Right.
I will never be in your store again. And as it is right now, I'm talking about it. I'm calling them out. I'm going to call them out on Saturday on the radio by name as a business that harasses their customers.
Yeah.
They're the only business in the East Mountains that I have encountered that is harassing their customers.
Wow. So I wanted to show people here that this is a handy dandy form provided by the healthyamerican.org with Peggy Hall, a legal notice to a person currently in charge of this establishment. But I want to show it to y'all because we've actually pre-filled in here. You know, it is illegal for you or another employee to attempt to enforce law ordinances. You are not law enforcement. You're not a law enforcement officer. Stop him. But here's the penal code for New Mexico. It's section 30-27-2.1.
Yeah, we looked it all up for you.
And here, I'm even going to go to the specific place, because you can look all of this up as well. Again, don't take our word for anything. Feel free to look it up yourself. And what's awesome too about our audience is not only do they look things up, they share things with us. I know David Roybal has been doing a great job sharing things and keeping me up to date. He actually kept me up to date and gave me the play-by-play Sunday when Pelosi was getting voted in as Speaker of the House. But there's this cool site called Justia Law. I believe it's .com or is it .org? Let's see here. Justia Lawyers, find Justia Law. I think it's justialaw.com. Yeah, here we go. Or law.justia.com. So here, hang on. Let me share this with you all, and then that way you can go. Yep, there we go. U.S. primary law. Okay, so let me get that screen up here for you all. Here we go. Okay, so here we go. It's law.justia.com. I'm going to go ahead and share that in the comments as well, so you all can go to it. You can even go to it as I'm doing it here. U.S. law, case law, code, statutes, regulations. You can get all your federal law stuff here, starting with the Constitution all the way down to court dockets and cases. And then state laws. So down to state law. New Mexico. Here we go. Oh, yeah, I forgot to tell you. I only have till 8 tonight because I really got to help get the kiddos in bed. So New Mexico law. It even says at the top here, New Mexico residents are subject to New Mexico state and U.S. federal laws, in addition to, the Constitution, which is the supreme law of the U.S. Hello, people. Okay, so statutes, case law, state resources, administrative code. So I'm going to go to the most recent one, 2019 New Mexico statutes, and it was code 30, I believe. Yeah, chapter 30. So we're going to go down to chapter 30, which is criminal offenses. Let me make it a little bigger for everyone to see. Oh, won't do it. Okay, criminal offenses. So chapter 30, and then the article was 27-2.1. So 27, malicious prosecution. 2.1, impersonating a peace officer. There it is. Impersonating a peace officer consists of without due authority. Due authority, meaning that you have been sworn in as an officer of the law. Without due authority exercising or attempting, meaning even if you're not successful, attempting to exercise the functions of a peace officer. And then, of course, the other one, pretending to be a peace officer with the intent to deceive another person. The main one that we're dealing with is number 1. Without due authority, exercising or attempting to exercise the functions of a peace officer. So get this. Whoever commits impersonating a peace officer is guilty of a misdemeanor. And upon second or subsequent conviction, the offender is guilty of a 4th degree felony. 4th degree felony. So, as used in this section, peace officer means any public official or public officer vested by law with a duty to maintain public order or make arrests for crime. So we've got law on the books. You are not supposed to enforce a peace officer. Oh, and there's even impersonating a border patrol agent. Huh, interesting. Yeah, sometimes I like to read through some of this stuff. It's very interesting. But right there, section 30, so it's chapter 30, 27, 2.1. So there you go, right there in our own code. We are not supposed to be impersonating a peace officer.
And not only that, but no matter what state you're in, that form will work for no matter what state you're in. All you have to do is go into the code for your state and look those up, and you'll be able to look them up, and you fill in the blanks with the appropriate statute for your state.
Yes, and I will. I haven't done it in a while. Let me show everybody where that is. So I love Peggy Hall at the Healthy American. She's all about pushing back, but pushing back legally and lawfully according to our Constitution. We're not seeking to overthrow something. We're not seeking to, set up something absolutely new here. This is all about just going by the Constitution, which was the original foundation for our country and our country's government. That's it. That Constitution is supposed to guarantee our rights, and delineates our rights and responsibilities, basically. So there we go. There's the Healthy American. I also put the link down in the chat. As you can see here, where's the menu? There's the menu. She's got a great menu here. Home, about, documents, issues, about masks. Lots of good stuff about masks, but specifically your rights. Civil rights, and then notice of discrimination. She's added a new one, actually. Religious liberty.
That's a big one. On that subject, religious liberty, this past Christmas Eve, a couple of the big churches in town, Legacy Church, which is a church that Natalie and I attend, which is what's considered a mega church because they got thousands of members. They held a Christmas Eve service, and basically Pastor Steve, his idea is that it's the house of the Lord. We have a right to assemble according to the First Amendment. And if you want to come to church, we are not going to turn you away. Right. And so they had a packed service for Christmas Eve. And it's also nice. Apparently, Calvary Church had a good Christmas Eve also. I'm going to give credit to Skip for better late than never.
Yeah. And they both got fined $5,000 each. We'll see if they, intend to pay it or not.
Yeah.
So here's where you can find the notice of discrimination. Click here to print out. That prints out a page with the blank spaces in there. So if you're from another state, you can easily look up your code at law.justia.com and find all of your codes that match up, and you can fill them in yourself. There's also an interesting one here, violation of laws and citizens arrest. She also has a number of videos, and this one's funny, how to make citizens arrest. Ooh, yes, citizens arrest. It's a thing. It's a legal thing. It's in our laws, it's on the books, people. How to defend your civil rights. I highly recommend watching her videos. She also has a great federal non-discrimination flyer. Discrimination is against the law. So yeah, you can print stuff out. If you're the type of person who likes to hand things to businesses and go about it as, you know what, you need to be educated about this, because I don't think you realize what position the state's putting you in. You know, you're opening yourself up to lawsuits. You're opening yourself up to discipline under the DOJ. And I really think you need to know this stuff. Then this is a great resource. You know, educational notice to businesses, the violation of laws. And if you really want to get into it heavy-handed, there's even how to serve an affidavit, and you can print that out as well as instructions on how to file a complaint with the U.S. Department of Justice. So lots of great stuff on this. I do want to go back to the, where is it? The religion, freedom of religion section, because this is also really, really good. Let's see, your rights, religious liberty. So a few people have come up with cards, religious exemption card, and you reminded me of this, Rebecca, when the guy said, do you have a card that says you don't have to wear a mask?
Right.
I would print this out, laminate it. I use like box tape, and be like, yep, I certainly do. Here you go. Religious exemption. And there's even one on here too about like medical exemptions as well. There's another one about medical exemptions.
Well, you know, Mark is a ordained minister, and
there you go.
He can actually produce one of these and sign it and say that you are exempt due to your religious convictions.
That's right. But yeah, you can print that out and whip that out. And yep, I certainly do have a card. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Here you go.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's still on here. It might be under, is it about masks? Here it is, exemption cards. She also has stuff on masks don't wear at Costco and masks. Yeah, religious exemption information card. Okay, that's the religious one. At one point, there was also the medical one that included the stuff about ADA and civil rights and HIPAA and
that's the one I have.
Yeah, and how HIPAA and the DOJ.
Somebody a while back gave me a really nice, it's like a plastic card. It's like a professional card. Somebody gave me that. I don't even remember. It was probably at one of the rallies that we did.
Yeah, someone gave me a paper copy once. I wish I had laminated it.
Yeah.
But flyers, see prayer as a friendly letter, direct threats, stay open for business, postcards. Oh yeah, she has a bunch of forms on here, documents that you can print out.
And all of this stuff, by the way, she is teamed up with an actual lawyer. Yes, and so this stuff is all written by an actual lawyer.
She talks to several lawyers. In fact, I think they've already filed a lawsuit against the governor in California. She's beyond brave. Oh my gosh, she's just wow. And she is she's such a positive, upbeat person and such a great, gentle spirit, but she's beyond brave. Letters to farmers markets. So these are some letters, sample lawsuits that you can adapt for your own situation. This is gold right here. So for anybody out there, if you have been harassed by a business specifically, and I would encourage you, especially the big box stores like Smith's, Costco, Sprouts, you can look at these sample lawsuits and adapt them to your own situation, like it says. But that right there is hundreds, if not thousands of dollars worth of documentation that would otherwise need to be drafted up by at least a paralegal.
Yeah.
So you can look at all of that right there. Of course, you do still need to do your homework and look into our laws, because their sample lawsuit, I forget which one they had here, if it was from Florida or from California. So some of it may or may not be pertinent to New Mexico. The letters to farm and markets, this is a good one. Letters to remove COVID freeway signs. Letters to send to the Department of Transportation.
Ah.
Yes, right. This is where you would see all that right there. So, the sample letters regarding highway signs, and I believe she has several different examples. Religious, there's that religious exemption card again. Notice of discrimination. What to do if you've been discriminated against. This is great because if you read this in advance, and especially like by now we've probably all had this experience, but if you read it in advance, it really helps you to be calm and collected and know what the steps are, so that you don't even have to get upset when it happens to you again and again. But now you're going to have an order, you're going to have a procedure for what to do. And then also, this is a good one. Can you fly mask free? That one's very interesting. I think that's the one that she did with the civil rights attorney John J. Stevens. I always get his name wrong. But flying mask free, you can call the airlines, get everything in writing if they allow for exemptions, delay the trip, drive, fly private, etc. But it also gives you some phone numbers and then videos on how to do this. If you really want to make a thing of it to try to fly mask free, she's done a number of videos with a lawyer, and I think he even has it on his website. He specifically has looked into all this in detail. So yeah, I can always go down the rabbit hole with Peggy Hall's website, and they're always coming up with new stuff. If you want to donate to something, this is a great place to support. In fact, one of those videos that we looked at, that you sent me about Trader Joe's, I think it was, giving away
That's so funny.
Food.
That's hilarious. Basically what happened is the lady got up there. Apparently she's really been studying maybe even Peggy Hall's stuff.
Yeah.
But she gets up there.
No, that's what I was going to say. She is basically a student of Peggy Hall. In fact, her group, etc., is like the healthy Oregon or whatever state she was from.
But she was totally schooling that guy in the Trader Joe's, and he got so tired of listening to her that eventually he just gave her groceries for free.
She even tried to leave her cash on the counter, and he gave her groceries and her friend who went with her. That's the other thing too, is she took another friend in with her.
Yeah.
So and they did shopping separately. So this one manager couldn't do double duty with both of them. So he had decided to harass her. And then when they both tried checking out, he took him to the furthest register they could possibly do, and he was still arguing with her. So she was educating him on this and this and this and this. But yeah, this is where I get a lot of the info that I've been using to push back, and it's effective. You're not always going to get the outcome that you necessarily want, but you're going to get a better outcome when you are educated, and then you're able to educate others. So that's just the tip of the iceberg. But yeah, I encourage everybody to go to that website. In fact, maybe one of these days we'll do a deeper dive into some of that stuff, especially the transportation department letters.
Oh yeah.
Ooh, man, what if we could get dozens or even hundreds of letters to the transportation department in New Mexico about those annoying signs? I mean, please, I would really like to hear if there's an accident coming up 10 miles ahead, or a snowstorm that's about to hit. That's what those are for. And transportation.
The signs that we have here in Albuquerque, they do switch functions. from time to time, like if there's a snowstorm or whatever.
Yeah,
but then
it's
they go back
imminent.
to the creepy mask
I know.
messages.
And unfortunately, the ones that are on the interstates, and she made this point in one of her videos that the signs that belong to the public Department of Transportation that are for use on the interstates, they're not supposed to be co-opted by the governor. They're not supposed to be co-opted for any other than their stated designated purpose as paid for by taxpayers, which is to help warn drivers of driving conditions along the interstate, which again is not owned by the states.
It's owned and managed by the U.S. Department of Transportation.
Yes.
So I don't know how she's getting away with that.
Well, it's because each state has its own Department of Transportation, but technically those departments of transportation are, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, if someone else knows better, correct me on this, they're under the jurisdiction of the U.S. Department of Transportation. So even though they're funded by the
federal
states,
job.
Yeah, it's a federal job.
When I worked at the Air Traffic Control Center, I was a DOT employee.
Yep.
Because the airports and the air traffic control system, those are under DOT.
Yeah. It is not supposed to be a state thing. It's federal. So she is not supposed to be using those signs. Now, granted, there's some other signs around the city on streets that are not interstates. And at that point, it's like, okay, it's still not their prescribed usage, but I can see why you're getting away with that one. But the interstate ones, no. Like those big LED signs that are on the overpasses above the highways. Yeah, that's a no-no. That's a big no-no. So yeah, I would love to get a bunch of letters out one of these days. If you ever follow her, follow her on YouTube if you can. YouTube throttles and deletes a lot of her videos. She's also on BitChute, and I need to write her a letter and see if she'll get over onto Rumble. She probably will once Rumble comes out with their live streaming option.
By the way, I'm watching some of the video from Georgia from the Trump rally there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, good. So is David Royball's been messaging me on Facebook. He says that he's been watching that as well. And hopefully, one major reason why I really, of course, want President Trump to remain President Trump is, he said back in November that there weren't going to be any lockdowns in his administration, and he kind of implied that the federal government might step in on state governments in some of these rulings. Now, of course, some things are going through the courts, as they should. But if he remains president, he may very well be able to end the draconian lockdowns. He may be able to just end it. And of course, we know the states don't want to end it. I mean, why else are they all joining in with, oh no, there's a new strain. Oh no, it's in the U.S. now. And just you wait. Soon it's going to be, the new strain is in New Mexico.
Yeah, the new strain. They're already talking about the new strain.
That's right, new strain.
They got to keep the fear up.
And poor Fauci, it came at the wrong time because he's trying to get everyone, confidence instilled in this vaccine. We got to get this vaccine rolled out. This vaccine should still be effective for this new strain. But that once they have most of this vaccine rolled out, then they'll go, oh, wait, it might not be effective against this the newest strain. We're going to have to do another vaccine. We're going to have to do another mandatory vaccine rollout.
Well, okay, and I've been thinking about that. Okay, each year they come out with a new flu shot, right?
Yep.
And each year they say, oh, well, this flu shot has been updated to cover you from all the new strains that have come out. So what, the COVID-19 is like different? It's like if you get a vaccine for COVID-19, then it protects you against any potential new strain that comes out. I mean, the whole thing has been, if you think about it, has been very, very fishy. And it's like even the common cold, that's a coronavirus, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, 1/3 of the viruses that cause the common cold are corona type viruses.
Okay.
The others are
Rhinoviruses, I think.
rhinovirus and something else.
Yeah.
I need to get that back up and look back into that. I need to refresh all my virological terms. But what's interesting is still to date, we haven't seen this virus specifically delineated in a biological formula. I think I'm getting that right. And there was something interesting going around on Facebook the other day. I happened to see it on some comments. Supposedly, this big statement by a certain doctor, I think something Oswald, where he was saying that according to this research institute and this research institute, etc., we haven't been able to find this virus. It turns out that the PCR test might have just been picking up the flu. In fact, they might have been calibrated to the flu all along. You know, some of it made sense. Some of it kind of like, I'm not sure. I need to confirm that. But the conclusion, the supposed conclusion, and his name was just, put down at the bottom, but frankly, anyone can do that, was that the virus itself wasn't real and that we were all being duped. Now, I don't take the extreme position that the virus isn't real simply because my family's had it. We had at least the original A and B strain back in
me too.
winter of 2019 and then early spring of 2020. And the reason I know this for sure is because I keep a journal whenever my family or any member of my family is sick. And I keep a very detailed journal. A nurse taught my mom how to do it a long time ago, and she taught me how to do it. And so I just do it. So I look back at my records, and the note that I made each of those 2 times that my family was sick was, wonder what this is. We've never had anything like it before. And then, of course, Wu flu came out and was finally acknowledged at large in February or March. And the whole list came out of the symptoms. And I looked at that. And I'm like, well, between me and all my family members, we check off every single box. That's what this is. So I believe that the virus is real. To what extent it is deadly, that is where the main debate is. But anyway, so back to my little story on this. So my husband and I did some digging. We looked up the supposed name of the doctor who supposedly said all this. And of course, it was fact-checked by Snopes. And sometimes I'll go on Snopes to just kind of see what they say, because if you read between the lines, you can kind of tell what's true, what's propaganda. And so this doctor, they actually had a statement from this doctor saying, no, I never said this. I would not say this. I didn't say this at all. But there was a very interesting phrase in his statement. He was remarking on all of these research institutes. He's like, I don't know why these research institutes, why someone would say that they would put out anything that debunks or claims that the coronavirus is false when they're all so busy right now maintaining the spread of the COVID-19 virus. Let me say that again. All these institutions and research departments are busy maintaining the spread of the virus.
And I think the mask is actually helping accomplish that.
Well, it was interesting because I looked at John and I'm like, did they perhaps mean to use the word containing instead of maintaining? Maintaining gives the impression of upkeep, meaning they're trying to keep up the spread of this virus. And John's like, well, I don't know. One would assume, and if one is generous in nature, one would assume, it was just a flub, it was just a typo. He meant to say contain instead of maintain. But at the same time, this is a very smart doctor, research doctor. So he's not just a doctor of medicine, he's actually a doctor of medical science. He's also a scientist. Like many of you have heard me say, not all doctors are scientists. This one is both a doctor and a scientist. And John said, you have to ask, could it have been a flub? Because this is someone who is smart, not just smart enough, but this is his given field. He deals with it every day. He should know better. And he knows the difference between contain and maintain. So I don't know, but that, we debunked one thing, sure, but at the same time discovered something very interesting. And I have to have John send that to me again, because I need to post it up to where people can see, or maybe take a screenshot of it. I thought that was a very interesting tidbit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not by any means a virus denier, and I'm not even an anti-mask. But for crying out loud, people, educate yourselves, be curious, ask some questions. And I know a lot of our listeners really do. They really do their homework and their research.
And that being said, is like how we're always saying is turn off the mainstream news. And I found a really interesting thing about the mainstream news. And it kind of makes you wonder, where does the news actually come from? You assume that when you watch these local news stations in your area, that these are actual reporters and they're actually looking for stuff like you and I do and talking about things and researching things, or at least their individual news agency at their station is doing research. But let me show you this, okay? This is really interesting. So there and here. Okay, watch this. But let me run it back a little bit. Hold on here.
Hello. Our greatest responsibility is to serve our Treasure Valley communities,
the El Paso, Las Cruces communities,
Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
Yeah.
But we are concerned about irresponsible, one-sided news stories
plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish the same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing
Really?
of biased and false
Hypocrite
has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these same simply aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 Wow.
Mindless
This is extremely dangerous to our
automaton.
democracy. This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Okay.
This is
Put
extremely
that link in the comments.
This is extremely dangerous to our
I want to add
democracy.
that to
This
the
is
links.
extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Okay. And, okay, for those of you that are also Star Trek fans, okay, tell me
It's going to be good.
Time and time again,
if that does
the
not look
mainstream
like
press has been
this.
dead wrong when it comes to the stock market. From the dot-com blow-up
Let's see.
to the financial crisis.
Still getting the hang of this. Okay, hold on. Here.
Experts always get it wrong. Today we're joined by the
Okay, here we go. Tell me if this sounds like the other thing that we just listened to.
Going back to Black Monday in 1987. In 2000, for example, it was called the exact
biological and technological distinctiveness to our own. Your culture will adapt to service us. Resistance is futile.
Yeah. And you know, The reason the Borg sound like that is because that's millions of Borg drones all speaking at the same time.
Right.
Just like the hundreds or thousands of drones in the mainstream media all saying the same.
Wow. Yeah, that whoever did that YouTube video, kudos to them for taking the time to sync all of that up.
It's amazing.
Wow. That's awesome. Yeah. Hats off to you. That was a nice long bit of editing. I mean, I have an appreciation now for just how long that actually takes to do that.
Yeah.
But wow. And yeah, thank you for putting that in the links down here. So if you're joining us on here and you can see that, you can grab that link in the chat. You can go to YouTube yourself and see it, save it, share it. Again, don't believe us, go to the source. And that is just a great idea. It's a great juxtaposition about how everyone, all the media, local stations are in on this group think. Huh.
And you know what, Natalie, we need to, that thing I just played, I think just the audio alone would be enlightening. We should maybe include that on our sound bites on Saturday.
Yeah, that would probably be really good.
Yeah.
We can do that. So yeah, we can send that to Jonathan too, or Jaybird. And definitely, wow. Yeah, I know that Bongino, Rush Limbaugh have all done that in the past too, especially like around the president, constitutional crisis, constitutional crisis, constitutional crisis.
Yeah, and even the spin words they use are exactly the same spin words.
Exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's wild how much groupthink has pervaded our society and our media. I mean, it's propaganda. It's the apparatchik. It's propaganda now. It's no longer a free press, because if you decide to insist on free speech, freedom of thought, and diversity of thought, then you get pushed out of the mainstream legacy media. Legacy media now basically represents the thoughts and the wishes of the upper 1% of the country.
And you know what is the clip that I just did, I believe all of those were various Fox News stations.
Mm-hmm.
But there are also similar things like the one I just showed that show all of the mainstream, like CNN, MSNBC, all of those stations also saying exactly the same thing, using the same words.
Yeah.
So the question I have to ask is, where is the news coming from?
Well, someone is giving them their marching orders. I've heard different things. Those who think that it's the money that drives the country actually thinks that it's some of the Wall Street journals and editorials. Was it Forbes was floated to me once? If you look at who says something first, but these days it's kind of hard to tell, because since they all sort of talk to each other, everything kind of goes out en masse. So it looks like this is the consensus of the country. No, it's just the consensus of a few media moguls who all decided to tell everyone, hey, you better say this at the 5 o'clock news.
Well,
these are the next marching orders.
Right, and that's what they do by having the same message across multiple networks. It makes it seem like, ooh, this must be true. It's like the thing goes, if you repeat a lie over and over again, people will start to believe it. Well, what they're doing is they're doing it on a much bigger scale, because they're taking the same message and broadcasting it across multiple networks.
Yeah.
So it's a real time saver.
It's kind of what the CCP does, Chinese Communist Party, with their own propaganda machines. I mean, they've got several media outlets that they own that basically all disseminate the same thing again and again and again.
Yeah.
So That's what we've got here. And thankfully, we still have, for the most part, a free internet, and people have been going to other news sources to get their news. And we need to keep doing that.
That's
so
what
that
we do.
people get to basically vote with your dollars and vote with your time and your megabytes per second, I guess is one way of looking at it. Like, for example, I've really been loving www.rockoftalk.chat. And yes, I know our Liberty Ladies Unite show is on Rock of Talk on the Kiva on that station, but I really do like the content that Eddie's been putting out as far as being a news aggregator. So he doesn't have any pretense about being what's the word, like a news producer, although he and some others do write articles on a regular basis, but he curates and aggregates the news, like the breaking news, say right from the night before, puts it all together in one thing. And then if you're signed up and you've subscribed, then you get an email in your inbox. Or sometimes what I do is I just go to www.rockoftalk.chat directly to the website, or I even go to the YouTube site. If you're subscribed to his YouTube channel, Rock of Talk, as well, then you can get it. You can actually get YouTube to give you a reminder that, hey, Rock of Talk has a new video up for this morning, like it's 7 a.m. And as soon as I get out of bed, sometimes before I get out of bed, I look up that video and click play. And right there was the top 10 video clips from the night and the day before. And those are the things that are usually going to be written about the next day. That's kind of how the media cycle works. Is so people like Jim Jordan goes and has an interview and says something on camera on the 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock news. And then the very next morning, boom, you've got articles already up about it.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a time.
It's a great resource.
Yeah, it's a time saver for me because then I get to see, what the top 10 links are, as well as the top 10 video clips, and they're all in one video, which is great. I just press play and I just kind of listen to it while I'm getting kiddos to brush teeth and dressing somebody or dragging somebody out of bed.
And by the way, it's like also another thing we do is anytime I come across like great videos that they're along the same theme of the things that we talk about all the time, I always post them on our Liberty Ladies Unite Facebook page. Let me play this one here for anybody who hasn't watched it. This one is really, really good. I'm having fun with this screen share thing. It's the first time I've actually used it.
It's cool, huh?
It is very cool. All right, so this is great. This is what you call pushing back, and this is what I'm talking about, how we can end these lockdowns of the restaurants in New Mexico. We all need to do this. And let's see here and there and there and there we go.
Well, Governor Walz, I'm here in Minnesota, in your state. I believe you have mandated indoor dining be closed. But I got to ask you a question here. I don't know about you guys, but I don't feel like this is very closed. In fact, I feel like this is wide open, and I feel like you're not going to do anything about it because you can't do anything about it. Because,
where is this?
Frankly, you're actually powerless. See, the people around me here are the people you get your power from, and they've decided they don't need you anymore. So why don't you stop with the business, make yourself look better, and end the lockdowns? Because right now, we're just embarrassing you.
Wherever Governor Tim Walz is, let's
Governor
see.
Tim Walz. WALL or AHL?
He spelled it WALZ.
Oh, ALZ. Office of Governor, Tim Walz, Minnesota.
Minnesota, okay.
Yeah. And actually, what's funny is it says here on, was this recent? He may have loosened, on mid-December, he actually loosened some of the COVID-19 restrictions after 4 weeks of strict regulations. But of course, not enough for some business owners. Nope, but certainly not.
Yep.
So, yeah.
So what you do is you refuse to comply. And just like when we're telling you how you can push back on businesses that are trying to push mask mandates on you, well, how I do it is I make a scene. I school them on the law. I do it loudly so that everybody in the store can hear it. And like when I was at the hardware store here locally in the East Mountains a couple days ago, I did not let it go. I was schooling them the entire time I was in the store, and I didn't stop. I was even schooling the cashier as she was checking me out.
Yeah.
So, it's a couple of things. Number one, you're educating people and hopefully getting them to start thinking for themselves. And number two, you are going to make it uncomfortable for them and wear them down to where they will stop complying themselves.
Mm-hmm. And once we decide that we're done with this, then the election officials will say, oh, well, things are obviously better. So yeah, we meant to roll things back anyway. And
yeah, because they're not going to want to look like they're out of control.
Yeah, they'll do it to save face.
Yeah.
But this is the point. They're not going to hand our freedoms back to us on a silver platter. Frankly, they had no right to take away freedoms. They only took away freedoms that you gave them the power to take away by complying and believing that they had the power to do so. They don't have the power to do so, but they have power that the people think they have. That's the only power they have. So if people stop believing that they have this power, people just go, nope, I'm opening up, then they don't have that power, and they have to acknowledge it by backpedaling and saving face.
Right. And like I said, Carol Wright of the New Mexico Restaurant Association needs to be a leader. And she needs to tell the restaurants, okay, everybody open, do it.
She needs to person up.
Yeah, she needs to person up. Oh, that gets me thinking about something. Did you see the thing where the session of Congress, I'm not sure, was it like yesterday or the day before? I don't know.
Sunday?
Where the preacher, this disgraceful person, he, at the end of this ridiculous prayer he gave, which was nonsense to start with, but to make it even worse at the end, he says, amen and a woman. So apparently he's decided that God's words are no longer adequate.
No, he wasn't a priest. He was a judge. Yeah, it was it was the judge, the justice in the Senate. And yeah, that's because Pelosi decided that one of the new rules is no gendered language.
Yeah.
Gotta be gendered.
These people are evil.
It's like, just you idiot. Do you not realize that amen is actually the etymology behind the word is Hebrew? It's a Hebrew word that has no gender connotation whatsoever. It literally means be it so, or so be it in the translation.
So be it.
That's what amen means. It's not a man or men. And by the way, if he really wanted to do it grammatically correct, correct per what he thought amen meant, gendered, oh gosh, now it's getting confusing. He wouldn't have said woman singular. If it's really men, multiple men, then really the justice should have said women.
Yeah. So you didn't even get that right.
Instead of singular. So yeah, he didn't even get that right.
Yeah.
Or wrong. Whichever. It's all wrong.
Well, no.
Come on. Well, and
It's all
Dan
wrong.
Bongino was joking with his producer about this. He's like, "What? So anytime we say a word with a man or men in it, do we have to change the syllables so that it's inclusive now of the other gender? So wait, co-mand meant now has to be co-woman woman something like that." Yeah, it's like, are we just straight up taking like specific, syllables and consonant?
Or maybe, maybe if we're really going to be PC about the whole thing, we got to go. Amen, a women. We got to go all the other.
Zers, them, and zag.
We got to include all those other genders that supposedly exist.
2S.
46 different genders exist.
Yeah,
so we got to go through the whole list of them.
Right. Yeah. Zer. Oh my God. No, they would. They would. No,
Yeah.
that was totally a virtue.
They just haven't thought of it yet, but they will.
That was totally a virtue signaling move on behalf of Pelosi. She is hoping to, I believe she's hoping to appease some of the far lefties that have been kind of ticked off with Biden lately, because the Biden campaign, I refuse to say president-elect, the Biden campaign is ignoring or excluding them, and so she's kind of trying to pick up some of those in support and bring them over to her side. Also, who knows, maybe AOC told her to do it and said, I ain't voting for you unless you change this, because the squad threatened, we're not voting for Pelosi. We're not voting for Pelosi. It's time for her to go. But then what did they do? They voted for Pelosi.
Well,
and I'm pretty sure.
They could have possibly did that. That could have been what happened. They could have said, hey, we're going to vote for McCarthy instead, unless you want to go along with it.
I'm pretty sure, or all they had to have done actually is abstain their votes. I think there were 6 of them. But I'm pretty sure they got something out of that deal. I think that's why they were so vocal about not voting for her. And Nancy's smart. She's been Speaker of the House again and again and again. She knows how to buy votes. She knows how to coerce them. And I'm sure she did. I'm sure she called them up or Zoomed or talked to them or what have you and said, okay, what do you want? And they're like, well, we want this, 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 this. Well, if you want any of that to have a hope or a prayer of passing, then you better vote me in, because, and here's the thing, here's the way the Democrats think. I kind of knew that she was going to take it again, because the Democrats would rather, most of them anyway, vote for her so they can have a Democrat leader that they have a hope of influencing, rather than someone else that they're not sure that they can influence, even if it's another Democrat. And no other Democrat had enough pull to become Speaker of the House, and they definitely did not want to see the possibility of a Republican Speaker with a Democrat majority. That would have been chaos.
Yeah.
I would have absolutely loved that. But there were 2 Democrats who voted against her for completely different people. One of them said in her state, she ran on that in her district, that she was never going to vote for Pelosi, and she's kept her word. And then there were 3 others that voted present but didn't vote for Pelosi at all. So that at least 5 Democrat reps are going to be on her shit list, because she's vindictive like that. Yeah. But I watched the end of that thing and I'm like, oh, here we go. Here come all the Pelosi's. And it was interesting because at first the squad was AOC wasn't in her seat when they first called her to vote. She came in later and voted in the second wave. So I don't know, maybe she was twisting Nancy a little bit, going, you sure? You sure? I want more. Maybe there was some texting going on.
Well, with the margin being so small in the House now, that just gave AOC a lot of power. Her and her little squad, they have a lot of power now.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Yeah.
They do, unfortunately. And I know, gosh, tomorrow is what, Tuesday? Yeah, Tuesday. So much is happening this week. Tuesday, oh gosh, I gotta put babies to bed. I forgot. It's past 8. Oh well. Sorry, babies. So Tuesday, we have people who are up at the Roundhouse who are camping out. Georgia, the Georgia elections, we should see what happens from that. I'm predicting that it's going to be even bigger fiasco. Oh, there's your producer.
Yeah, my producer.
Editor, producer in chief. I think it's still going to be a fiasco because they already know that there's cheating going on. I mean, what was it, data analyst? No, an election expert hacked into Dominion's ongoing Georgia election systems in front of Congress.
Now
Like
say that again.
Yeah, not hacking expert, but a voting systems expert who was testifying, I guess, on Capitol Hill. Or was he at the Capitol? He might have been zoomed in by remote. But he actually hacked in. Yeah, Dan Bongino covered this too. He hacked in to Dominion's voting systems that are currently ongoing for the Georgia election because they're currently tabulating the absentee ballots.
Okay.
He hacked into it live in front of hundreds of representatives. And the report was that many of the representatives were pissed at finding that out. Because those things are not supposed to be online.
They're not supposed to be online.
So I predict a big fiasco tomorrow for Georgia. I will frankly be surprised if anything definite happens. They think they've gotten away with getting Biden elected by fraud, so they're going to be doubling down on the fraud. There's no way in hell that they're going to let Loeffler and Perdue walk away with this, no matter how many people we turn out. That's just my belief. I believe that
that's what the truth is. And I don't like to think that way, but I want everybody to get out and vote.
Yes, everyone needs to vote.
I think the fix is in.
Just like with Trump, he needed a landslide win so that it's possible to prove that he really won. Loeffler and Perdue need the same thing. They need an actual landslide win so that when all this fraud comes down the pipe, at some point you can unravel it enough and say, okay, yeah, even if we can't unravel all the fraud all the way, it's still pretty obvious that they won. So yes, if you're in Georgia and you're watching, get out and vote. Get out and vote. And then, of course, on the 6th, we see what goes down in Congress.
Yeah.
That's going to be interesting.
I hope that Mike Pence stands up for us.
I hope so. A few people I know have made the prediction that depending on how he handles this, he actually could ensure his own presidency in the future.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't handle this well, then his political career is over. He is done. And who knows, maybe he is not even looking at it politically, although he's really more of a political animal than even Donald Trump is. Donald Trump is a straight up businessman, whereas Mike Pence, he's been in Congress for a while and he was governor of Indiana. Did he ever go to Congress? I think he was a senator once. I think so. But yeah, he tends to think more politically. He's been on the political scene definitely more than the president. So we shall see. Now he did say, it was either today or yesterday, in some comments at a rally in Georgia, that he welcomes the constitutional challenges from Congress. And he did say something interesting. He's like, on the 6th we will see and we will get to look into the validity of these electors. But, on the 5th, first comes the 5th, and that's your day, Georgia. So everybody vote. So yeah, first Georgia, then the world. No, then the United States, then the world. But see, United States never goes after the whole world. So whatever.
No.
Yeah, Georgia, then the United States. We'll be happy if we get at least that far.
Well, Mike Pompeo made a statement when he was giving. Matter of fact, I can play that clip too.
Ooh. Oh yeah, when he said the thing about yeah, well, we'll have a smooth transition to a second term of Trump.
Yeah, let me play that one because that one is just too good not to show. Let's see here.
Yeah, that was a really funny one. The reporter did not expect that. They thought they were cornering him into admitting there was going to be another president instead of Trump, but yeah, he didn't pay attention to that one at all.
No.
I love it when that happens. Love it. See here.
I'm looking for it here. I don't remember where I sent it, if I messaged it or if I sent it.
Oh yeah, prediction while you're doing that. So on Saturday, if anyone caught our live show on the Kiva, I said that I'm predicting, just my personal opinion, reading the way things are going, I don't think we're going to have an inauguration on January 20th. There is precedent. And it was back Rutherford B. Hayes, I believe, in 1876. I could be getting the year wrong. When
they used to be March 4th.
Yeah, March 4th is when he was inaugurated. So the inauguration date is not a hard rule. It has been changed in the past, and it has even been pushed back in the past when there's been, enough confusion or doubt surrounding especially a national election. So that January 20th date is not a hard and fast date. It's just not. It can be pushed back, especially if there is enough doubt. And I think there will be enough doubt. What was it? Last count, over 100 reps and senators are poised to object to the electors. And lest Democrats forget, when Al Gore was against Bush, Democrats objected
Yes,
up
they
and
did.
down the floor when Al Gore was the vice president at the time, when he was opening up the electors' envelopes. I object. Yeah, all kinds of objections up and down. So y'all have done it in recent history.
Okay, here we go.
All right.
It says the 20th day of January.
Smooth transition will pose a risk to national security.
That's the law. There will be
There we go, Pompeo.
To a second Trump administration.
Yeah, it was interesting when Rutherford B. Hayes was inaugurated.
What's taking place? We're going to count all the votes.
Oh, there we go. Oh, is it clocking on you?
Yeah, it's buffering on me. Sorry.
I heard that Amendment 20 of the Constitution specifies
the world should have every
the day.
That the transition.
Yep. Well, yeah, that's what the Democrats are going to try to say, that, oh, but it's in the Constitution. He has to be inaugurated on January 20th. Yeah, but there's this little thing called precedent, where in the 1870s, a president got pushed back to March 4th. No, March 3rd, actually, I believe. It was March 2nd. Maybe it was March 3rd. Anywho, one day in March, he finally got the electorals, all the electorals needed to win, Rutherford B. Hayes. And then the very next day, he was inaugurated. So they pushed back almost 2 months. They pushed back the inauguration date. Almost 2 months. It's been done. It has been done. And it can be done again. And I think in that case, only 3 states, I believe, were in question. So now we got at least 6. Oh, and then New Mexico, because we sent in alternate electors.
Yeah, that's right.
So yes, so 6, possibly 7 states. No one knows what to do.
The 6 is going to be something like probably none of us have ever seen.
Yep, probably not. Now I know I'm going to be driving up to the Capitol with my family, but I'll probably be, watching, listening to that on the side.
Me too. Yeah.
I don't know if Eddie might be playing it. Check out the Kiva 1600 AM. Remember to tune into us at the Rock of Talk, 1600 AM in the Kiva, also abq.fm or kiva, kiva.am online, or use the app. The app works great most of the time.
Lots and lots of ways.
Yes, so lots of ways to listen to us. Of course, catch this. It should be up on Facebook for a while. I'm archiving everything on Rumble. So if you want to pull up anything, any of our past shows, the easiest place to find them is going to be Rumble. Liberty Ladies. We do have a Liberty Ladies page on YouTube as well, but don't give YouTube the clicks. Go to Rumble. Go to Rumble. David Russell says he can't go on Wednesday. He's moving. Hey, you've got an excuse. You're excused. But send your prayers our way and our president's way.
Yeah.
And of course, if you all want to email anything to us, go to libertyladiesunite@gmail.com. And now we also have new emails. You can email us at the station. Rebecca at rockoftalk.com and Natalie at rockoftalk.com. So
right.
We'll get your emails if you send them to us there. Other ways, let's see, our Facebook page, Liberty Ladies Unite. If you're watching this, you see our Facebook page as well. So I think that's it for now.
Yeah.
I know I got a baby calling my name.
So we'll be talking about a little bit more probably in depth of what we've been talking about on our webcast on Saturday on the radio, but then we'll also be continuing with our rules for radicals. We are on number 6 now, so we'll be covering that, and those are always fun to go over.
Mm-hmm. And maybe we'll check in. Maybe we'll check in live from the Capitol. That would be that would be fun. Do like a little Liberty Ladies Unite mini at the Capitol.
Exactly, we'll do that. We'll do like a Liberty Ladies broadcast from the Capitol on the 6th.
There we go.
That'll be fun. And then also on our radio show on Saturday, I'm sure we'll have lots of things to talk about.
Yes. Oh, wait. When do we not have something to talk about?
There's always something to talk about.
There's always something. We're women after all. We got to get
a list of other things, topics for us to talk about that I've been working on, that I've been compiling information. So, there's never any shortage of things to talk about.
No. Even if everything went just perfect again in our country, and well, it's never been perfect, but you know what I mean. Back to normal, no lockdowns, no masks, and Trump's president, and as good as it gets, we'd still have something to talk about.
Yes, we would.
So, but that's never going to happen anytime soon. So no worries, people. We'll be here with the free speak. Stay free, push back. Remember, no one has the power to take away your freedom unless you give it to them.
That's true. And remember what I say every week, resistance is not futile.
Never.
Do not become a mindless drone.
That's right. So stay free, everybody, and good night.
See ya.